Ladies and gentlemen, we're now starting with our very first session with the theme, long-term value versus short-term gains, balancing capital costs with long-term operational savings. In this session, we'll be exploring the critical balance that businesses and investors must strike between the immediate cost of capital investments and the long-term savings generated from smart, sustainable, and operational strategies. It's an exciting topic that speaks to both the financial as well as the strategic decisions that shape the future of industries today. We're very excited for this esteemed panel to be onto the stage as well. And as we commence the first session of this conference, I do request for all of your undivided attention. So a humble request to all our guests who are here to kindly keep their mobile phones in silent mode. If you feel like you've already done so, I'd humbly like to request you to kindly cross-check one more time to see if your mobile phones are on silent mode. And kicking off our first panel, we have a seasoned expert in the hospitality industry with a career spanning decades. He has contributed to over 200 hotel projects and played a key role in shaping the sector through strategic consultancy. As the founder of Naaz Hotel Consultants, he has been a trusted advisor on operational project and financial strategies for hotel promoters and groups. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome our moderator for this session, the CEO of Naaz Hotel Consultants, Mr. Romesh Koul, onto the stage. I must admit that Mr. Koul is looking fabulous with the Nepali Dhaka topi on his head as well. Though he did mention that it's to hide his baldness, but I think it's a fashion statement nonetheless. So ladies and gentlemen, joining us for this insightful discussion, I am thrilled to be inviting our panelists, Mr. Ajay Bakaya, Managing Director of Sarovar Hotel and Resort. A seasoned hotelier, Mr. Ajay has transformed Sarovar Hotels from a humble beginning to a leading brand with nearly 135 hotels across 85 destinations. A big round of applause for Mr. Ajay Bakaya. We're also excited to welcome Mr. Anoop Bali, Managing Director and CFO of Tourism Finance Corporation of India. With over 3 decades in finance and investment banking, Mr. Anoop specializes in funding hospitality ventures, bridging the credit gap in India. A gold medalist MBA and an expert in infrastructure financing, he's also a strong advocate for pet-friendly hotels and senior living spaces. We'd also like to invite Mr. Gajjala Yoganand, promoter of Manjeera Hotels and Resorts, a leader in luxury hospitality. Mr. Yoganand has built Manjeera Hotels into a trusted brand, and his contributions to this sector has also earned him national recognition. We'd also like to invite Mr. Rahool Macarius, Marketing Managing Director at Eurasia, Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. With over 25 years in the hospitality sector, Mr. Rahool is focused on expanding Wyndham's presence across India, Nepal, and beyond. Very excited to have him here with us. And completing this panel, may I please invite Mr. Sudeep Jain, Managing Director at IHG Hotel and Resort. He oversees IHG's operations and growth in Southwest Asia. With a background in hospitality development, investment banking, and consulting, he's led major expansion efforts, signing some of the largest deals in the industry as well. Our distinguished guests, with such an experienced panel, we're definitely in for a dynamic discussion. So let's get started. Mr. Koul, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Sadiksha. Thanks for lovely introductions, and thanks for revealing my secret. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I really must thank you for sparing your time and coming and attending this conference, 13th edition. Both Anil and me, we've been trying to put together this conference to ensure that this conference addresses the issues which are related more to the key structure with regard to the building, the design, and ultimately that results in profitability. And fortunately, we have a very varied, distinguished panel, people who've been operating hotels, from limited service hotels to luxury hotels. We have a promoter who has seen starting his first hotel as a limited service hotel, going to a luxury hotel. Of course, we have the man in the center who normally balances everything, the lender, Mr. Bali. So we are going to evaluate as to what happens when we look at design elements. We unfortunately are missing a very senior team member who was supposed to be a part of this panel discussion, Mr. Kiran Andicott from Marriott. I just got a mail from him, and I think it's very important for all of us who travel a lot. He is currently going through a situation called barometer, which is something to do with an air infection, and it is related to excessive air travel. So, I think all of us, we run behind our schedules. We ignore our health to ensure that, we meet our targets or we meet our clients' requirements. I think it's very critical and important to understand that, we should also pay some attention to our health. And this was very unusual that, I didn't know about it, and I don't know whether I pronounced the disease or the situation rightly, but I think, he's been advised not to travel at least for about 20 days. Just because, it may aggravate the issue. Between Anil and me, whenever we finish a conference, we start working on it as to what should be the theme for the next conference. And, every year we base our conference with some particular theme to ensure that, at least when we leave this room after 2 days of deliberations, we are more educated, we are more knowledgeable, and we try and create better hospitality products. And this time when we decided the theme, so it was basically related to economics of hospitality design. Obviously, people would have related, either it's a chapter in one of your BA language or other BA course, economics. And then it was further so related to long-term gain and short-term gain. So all the guys when the capital market started realizing whether we were looking at short-term, long-term gains, but it was more so related to what should we do to ensure the hotels are profitable in the long term. Because I don't think it's like any real estate business, you make your real estate venture, you encash it within the next 2-3 years, and then, you start planning other projects. But in hospitality, you have to invest a lot of money, and then the initial returns are in trickles, and then subsequently it gets into manifold. So our first session was long-term value versus short-term gains. And I think before we get into panel discussion, I just wanted to put in a little bit of brief based on my experience. I think one of the major mistakes that most of the owners who we have met, primarily as an architect or as a consultant, is that we try and compromise on the initial stages of messing up, not picking up the right consultants. Now, when we say long-term gain, obviously, consultants whose experience come expensive. And most of the owners look at in terms of compromise consultants, be it an architect, interior designer, or sometimes even the hotel, professionals, and who may not advise them, not because they don't want to advise them rightly, but just because of a lack of experience. So I think we need to ensure, and I tell the owners that it's very important, critical for them to pick up the right team, and that's where we feel we should put focus, all the owners should put focus in terms of what should be the right combination of the consultants. So coming to the panel discussion now straightway, I think have the brands evaluated as some sort of a balance between short-term operational efficiency and long-term value creation. Sudeep?
Thank you. And thank you for having me on the panel. I'm sorry I've got a very bad throat, so I can't speak very loudly, but hopefully people can hear me in the back. So I think the brands, Mr. Koul, I think there are two separate buckets in my mind, to simplify the world. One is what is now may not be a choice, so there are certain elements like we see here also, there are no more plastic bottle, right? Now, the thing is, those are essential to have in today's world, because now even when you're participating in RFPs and so on, more and more the companies are asking whether you are doing green practices, whether you have the right, footprint, where you're doing stuff to reduce the carbon footprint and so on. So there are things which are going to be essential and more going to become essential. Those are primarily related to plastic, water conservation, and in some aspects renewable energy, right? And those are simple. Those I don't think we just have a choice. The second aspect is where there is a choice. Do you do a four-pipe system, better, or do you put a heat exchange plant? Do you do electric versus, steam dryers and so on, where this choice comes in that the capex may be a little more relative to what looks, right? Now, seeing the trend and what is in the future, like we do, you're building a hotel typically for many, many years, right? I'm always, and the brands are cognizant of it. They understand when you're building the hotel that there is a decent amount of capital being spent, so wherever you can save, you do want to save. But then you do have to evaluate the long term versus short term, because going to retrofit, even 5-10 years down the road, sometimes is a more expensive proposition than actually putting the capex up front, right? And we are always erring now on the side, because I think let's call it the half-life of what changes on this side. The amount of time it took us to get rid of plastic straws and the amount of time it's taken us to get rid of plastic bottles is significantly shorter, right? And I think, so the next time, whatever the next thing way would be, I think that's only going to get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, right? And I think a lot of that is customer driven. Now, for us, we don't want to, it's a balance. We don't want to do just the minimum, but we don't also want to overspec it such a way that, it'll go well beyond the next renovation cycle involved. But I think there are areas where there's significant differences. We've seen it even with the water bottling plants. We've done the analysis and we've demonstrated that the glass bottles are actually cheaper than the plastic bottles, right, on a per liter basis. When you do, I think we've converted in a lot of our hotels the steam dryers into actually electrical dryers. The notion of the paradigm initially was always that it's going to be more expensive, but it's not. So I think we have to get deeper, and as you rightly said, that you have to rely on the experts, because they know it better. There's the subject matter expert. We could have our own notions in our head, but I think it's best to rely on the expert advice in these matters.
Ajay, your thoughts on it?
I think we have to look at it all in the context of where India is positioned today. That's critical. You have a momentum of growth that's going to carry on for the next few years. And that's fairly definite, which means more and more hotels. You have the boardrooms that are saying to all the CEOs and teams down the line, sign more hotels, sign more hotels, sign more hotels. That's a fact of life. I mean, and a lot of us, I'd say a large majority of us, are perhaps signing hotels, the scenario of I must do more. And well, if I don't, even if it's not a great hotel, if I don't take it, the next guy is going to run for it, so let me take it anyways. So we are in a scenario where a fair number of us are going to see our brands go weaker than what they are today or what they were 5 or 10 years ago. Now, in that, if that is the case, and that's a reality of life, how do we make sure that these hotels stand out in terms of some form of experience? And the big thing we need to do is go back to the customer, and not just your direct feedbacks, but regular, proper, research-oriented surveys and saying, what exactly are you looking for? We must realize that in our part of the world, homes now are much more comfortable than hotels. It wasn't the case 10 or 20 years ago. You stepped into a hotel, you said, wow, I've arrived something. Now I'm saying, look, but I want what I have at home, at least, if not more. So short-term, long-term, and all those things, I think one needs to judge really what is my customer asking for, and whether he's 30 or 40 or 50, can I fulfill most of those aspirations? And the customer is asking first for as little human touch as possible. We might say, oh, you can't replace the human touch. Well, maybe you can in some cases, maybe you can in a lot of cases. He's asking for more and more technology. He doesn't want to be bothered unless he wishes to be bothered. Leave me alone. If I need anything, I'll ask. I'll come to you. So that's the paradigm, that's the basis we're in. Now, sustainability is a big thing. And sustainability is slowly, very gradually moving from just the big words on the big websites to reality. And yes, there is most times a certain cost attached to it. And one's got to look at the long term. So in one example I'd like to cite here is that we are probably going to be the first hotel in this country. And you can do that when you're doing your own hotel. You can't necessarily do that if it's somebody else's hotel, which will have proper purified RO water on a dispenser in every single guest room. Chennai, we are 3 months away from opening the hotel, 150 rooms. So does it come at a cost? Yeah, it costs you about 35,000 rupees extra a room. There's no bottles, there's no glass, there's no plastic, there's no nothing. So you go in there, you have water at a certain temperature, and you drink it, as you would do normally at home. And so those are the sorts of things one has to bring in. But in addition to all of this, when you're doing hotels, and a lot of us largely do cookie cutter hotels where I say this is the format, fit it in, and it goes beautifully. Except for people like Mr. Dominique, who's been doing different hotels from the time they started. But largely, and the larger the company, the more the cookie cutter, because it's just too complicated to reinvent the wheel. So one's got to see what really makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and make sure your hotels and your guest rooms are making more and more sense. There is greater need for where is the big money today? The biggest money today in India is weddings. Are they sustainable? I mean, do they work on sustainability? Hell no. But do you want that business? For sure you do. And what do you do to cater to that segment? Well, how do you cater to the segment in a manner that is still managing the food and the garbage and everything else and the training, etc., etc. We're also in a scenario, Romesh, we can talk about the short-term and long-term part. We're in a scenario where we don't have people to run our hotels. We just don't have people to run our hotels. Everyone has the same problem. We are delivering, I can say to myself as an operator, I'm delivering less to my owner today than I was delivering 5 or 10 or 15, 20 years ago. So I'm always searching for the engineer somewhere, the financial guy somewhere, and there's always short supply. Now, so we've got to adapt ourselves in that other area too. And again, we've got to balance out the short term and the long term there, in the sense of saying, can we reach out to the millions of people that are here and say, look, you want to work 3 hours a day, 3, 4, 5 days a week, and do whatever else you're doing for the rest of the day? I have a job for you. Do you want to work 3, 4 hours Friday, Saturday evenings? I have a job for you. Do you want to work only morning, 6 to 9 in the morning? I have a job for you. And I'll pay you more than I'm paying my regular people. So unless we adapt those technologies, all that we're putting into hotel design may not come to fruition. For sure, one's got to balance out the long term and the short term. It depends on whether you're spending the money from your pocket or somebody else's pocket. And if it's somebody else's pocket, he has to decide. He's where he is because he must have done something right. So you can put forward your views and your thoughts, but at the end of the day, the person decides what really works and how much money he wants to put in. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that enter the hotel industry today to build hotels are still looking at short-term returns. There are no short-term returns in this business. There are none. But you can try and educate and help. But a lot of people are saying, hey, I've invested so much money. Where's the return? Your budget does not justify my investment. So I think the responsibility here is really, I think the biggest responsibility here is to make the industry more conducive for youngsters to want to work with us. People do not wish to work in this industry anymore. Too tough, you have to stand on your feet all the time, it's antisocial, everybody else is having fun, you're working, who wants it? We've got 21 management trainees today, 3 want to be chefs, 3 want to be housekeepers, the rest all want to be front office people, front office. Not front of the house, front office. To please, by mistake, galti se F&B mat dal dena yaar, mar jayega, my life will finish. So we got to make sure we evolve ways and means, and we are flexible on our side, rather than expecting more and more and more from those employees to give in terms of adapting those people. We've then got to see, what is my customer really looking for? I'll give you one example. All of us, including me, everyone here, has failed miserably. You walk into any hotel in this country, these slippers, whoever is providing slippers, are all size 7 or 8. I wear a 10, so I can never use them. Now, that's one part of the problem. Nobody's checked. The only guys who check your size are the airlines. They can still deliver you slippers that are large size, that fit you, if you're flying in business. Hotels can't. They haven't figured it out yet. Now, I'm saying, okay, I'll carry my own. No problem. I still have those slippers. The next day, my slippers are there, but those ones will be by the bedside on that mat, and they're being laundered day after day after day. So, we got to change that churn also, rather than think only on the sustainable part and the design part in a hotel. I think I'll pass it on to the others.
Well, Anoop, I think Mr. Bakaya made a point. It depends who's spending the money. Now, for you, you actually act as a balance, because for you, you have to consider who's spending the money, whether it goes from the owner's pocket or from the lenders. But ultimately, you have to evaluate whether the project is viable. So my question is, would you as a lender evaluate projects that are looking at a long-term profitability, even if the capital cost in the initial stages is very high?
Well, I would like to answer this thing slightly differently. What I have seen in financing hotels, I think most of the promoters who come and want to set up a hotel exactly don't know what they want to set up. That's the biggest issue which we have seen. They want to set up a hotel, but they have not done any marketing study, what type of hotel they want to set up, what amount of liquidity do they have, and how much that their hotel can sustain. So even if the city supports only a mid-market hotel, they want a premium hotel in their mid-market hotel. And that's the first step they go around. Then a chain enters, sometimes quite early, sometimes quite late. If the chain enters late, then there's a bigger mess around. If the chain enters at the very first stage, I think they have some norms of what they should have in the hotel. Meanwhile, they move with their local architect and get a plan approved from the municipal authorities. That is a second mistake they do. And then they have to fit the hotel as per the approved plan, as plan given by the hotel operator, as well as the consultants who have now moved into picture. And the project at this stage has suffered for long. Now, for whatever capital cost they have worked out, it is not going to be set up at that capital cost. They require more funding, and the project gets delayed and delayed. I think the real question for anybody to gain in this sector is to plan properly, which is not happening despite all these conferences. People do not plan. I think Indians do not want to plan. They want to move ahead without planning. And that's the biggest mistake they do in this sector. They have to plan and plan well. Be it a market study, and if you are confident with your market study, then don't bulge with any operator, don't bulge before any consultant. Have what you feel is the best product for you and go ahead with that. That is where you have to negotiate with everybody, that if my city affords only $100 for my hotel, I want to set up a hotel which is built at a cost where I can get a 15% IRR on $100, right? Tomorrow, as a lender, we are looking for our return. As an investor, he is looking for his return. So when we are looking for return, so our costing has to be appropriate, and that is when long-term gains or short-term gains doesn't make any difference. If you have worked this properly, even in your short-term gains will be as good as your long-term gains. And that's my call on the subject.
Mr. Yoganand, I think fortunately you're sitting just next to the lender, and you set up your first hotel with the help of TFCI. Uh, do you think when you set up your first hotel, you took the right consultants, you took the right decisions, you took the right operators, and that's the reason why you multiplied your hotels? Is that a kind of an experience you would like to share with our audience?
No, actually, if you ask me, first hotel, it's out of passion that I did my first hotel to get into hospital industry. But I think we did it right way. Though we made the first beginning, I took help of Mr. Romesh Koul, help of Mr. Bakaya, and also help of Mr. Anoop Bali.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, there is no insider trading here.
Yeah, there is no, because
there's no insider trading.
No, because the question is dragged me to answer this. So I think I did everything right. And I'm happy that, first hotel gave me good experience and knowledge. But that is not part of what I wanted to talk, because you asked first question, I answered that. In my view, actually I'm in real estate and other businesses. So in my view, investment in hotel is the best way of creating wealth. But this is an asset which is immobile asset, but a lot of dynamics have to be taken care. A lot of dynamics attributes are there. And Mr. Kachru has clearly said the importance of the owners and all the stakeholders. And all of us are veterans here, everyone knows. I am only expressing my way of understanding of the subject. So I have to, definitely, as everyone said, and particularly as Mr. Anoop Bali said, when I started my hotel, there are some local architects who said, hotel, what is there? I can make it. They said, you don't need any architect. I can do myself. They said, you don't need any operator also. You can operate yourself by employing people. Even the people who have employed also, they say that. But all that is wrong. Most of the people who invest in hotels first time, second time are the people who made money elsewhere, not in the hotel industry. They invest in the hotel with the hope that it's a wealth creation for the family. And if I make any other asset like office buildings and all, you may have the risk of tenant getting vacated or not tenant not paying rent. So those days they're not legally very very defined. But hotel may be the best way where you can invest and get the money. But at the same time, you should do it right. If you don't do it right, there's a possibility that whatever investment you make also will go waste. So, as it is already said by earlier speakers, right from selecting the location of the land and the positioning of your hotel, where you have to take advice of the experts and see how positioning you have to do, and what is the quantum you have to do, what is the value you can afford to pay to the land, and when you acquire the land, exploiting the land, either in the first phase or second phase, all are important. Then you need good consultants. See, everyone here are the consultants, everyone feel that, they generally, I observed is that, the investment is your prerogative, return on investment is your lookout. I'll give you the design, I'll operate it, I'll fund you, I don't care. That attitude has to be changed, and you should go to people who do not go with that attitude. Though legally, technically, they are not responsible for giving profits to you, but morally they should feel responsible. Yes, as long as I invest 40% of the cost of the project, everyone else have to feel that this should be feasible. They can't expect me to put 100%, they can't expect me to I should not put less than 40% of the equity, whatever is the value. And then you cannot expect money from the day one, but it has to be profitable from the day one. You have to make it, because it's not for you. You may not be expecting to take money for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. You should be prepared even if you don't get a rupee from there. If you're getting, it's a bonus for you. But you have to pay to your institutions. You should not fail. If you fail your institution, there is a risk of you losing the property and wealth. Then you have to pay your operators. If you don't pay them operators, you can't demand service from them. Similarly, you have to pay for maintenance and other things. So you should, whatever money you generate, should be allocating for servicing those things so that the property is maintained well, and property has to, customer has to come back to you. The customer satisfaction is very important in any industry. Repeated customer is one of the measures to see that you're doing well. So as long as you maintain this property well, as long as you are able to get the business, your value goes up. So it is an intangible benefit which you get if you are operating the hotel successfully and you are getting your returns to meet all the expenses. And none of the stakeholders, like either financial institutions or the operators or the people who are managing the hotel team, should feel that you have made the hotel, you bring the money even throughout the life of the hotel. No, if that is the attitude, then you are discouraging people. You're not doing justice to your profession. So we are ready to pay whatever is. I mean, we don't expect any money. Invest on the money. You don't expect any profit for next 7 to 8 years or 10 years with long-term objective, but short-term. And I also feel that whatever principal you pay to the institutions is what you are saving, because your wealth is indirectly getting added. So this is a very important thing that any hotelier, of course, many of you are already hoteliers, and anyone who, I don't know why the operators are not building hotels. They'll understand the problems if they build the hotels. So whatever it is, whether they come in or not, then there are other factors. External factors are there. You can't blame the external factors. The rules and regulations are not going to change, or they may change. Our financial institutions, they may increase their rate or reduce the rates. But you can't blame them. You should be prepared for anything, any worse situation also. If things go well, like today, market is very good, and next 10 years, we feel that the economy is going to be good. We were the 10th largest economy when we started our hotels. Today, we are the 5th largest economy. Tomorrow, we are going to be the 3rd largest economy. The first beneficiary is going to be hotels. So hotels are going to make money, but the only thing is you have to do it right. You should, and all the stakeholders should do their job properly, so that you are doing justice to the society also. The people, customers who come and stay also, they're happy, and they give you money. So these are the few thoughts which I have. If you are making profit from the day year, that is sufficient. You may not be required to make money. If you pay to all your vendors and all these people, that's sufficient over a period of 5, 10 years. Long term, your value is getting accumulated. You don't get the value every day, but it gets evaluated, and at the end of 10 years, you know where you're going to be. It may be 5x, 10x, or whatever it is. It's from the day you are invested. So that is what is my understanding of the industry, and I'm planning my industry in the future like that.
Rahool, you heard the panel up till now, and fortunately you got the insight to a certain extent from a promoter, from a lender, from an operator. Now your portfolio diversely is on a franchising, and does franchising model help to differentiate between long-term or short-term gains? Because at least you don't manage the hotel. So how would you evaluate this topic, and how would you elaborate on this?
Thank you, Mr. Koul. I've heard all the other panelists. Financial viability is extremely important, no matter you manage the hotel or you franchise the hotel. That's one aspect that, we all are very conscious. We might say we franchise hotels in this part of the world, but ideally you kind of franchise them. You keep advising them on not all stages. I feel, timing is something which is extremely important in this whole thing. It's not only about when do you start making money? You can have your operational plugins and you can have your commercial acumen to kind of do a lot of things. For starters, you can have the dynamic pricing at the right time. In the long term, you probably do better forecasting. You do better manpowering. Optimize your staffing too well. So these are many aspects where you can kind of, mitigate between long term and short term. From a franchisee standpoint, I think we're in the same boat, and Mr. Bakaya, Mr. Jain have already spoken quite a lot. So, the subject matter experts on, AD&C for me. From our perspective, I think it's a very similar story there. Thank you.
So, Anoop, you heard Mr. Yoganand say short-term capital, at least, and long-term gains. From your standpoint, would you think short-term gain could be at least the hotel should be able to service the operating expenses, and the long-term gain would be, once the debt is over, then at least, the owner shall start expecting some return? Should we qualify it under that stage?
See, if you have serviced everyone during the first 10 years, the same thing will continue, and whatever you get after 10 years is going to be your revenue or profit. So you should look at long-term in terms of running it efficiently during short-term. Guest satisfaction is very important from all angles. Value for money is also very important. People don't pay you more just because you're giving services, because the competition is already there. If you are, one very important thing is that, whatever you build, the building, the fixed assets, whatever you make should be futuristic, whereas whatever you offer is to be contemporary. So, and if you are not providing your things up to whatever is market standards, the guest is not going to be with you. So there has to be some value addition, value for money. So if his stays comfortable, appeal is good, and it's, again, the value is proper, then he will be repeated guest for you. Otherwise, they will move to another thing. So you should continuously pamper the guest, provide all the facilities, then you don't need to worry. Money, profit is going to be a byproduct. It will come automatically.
So that was my question for Anoop. See, when you pamper the guest, obviously you have to look after him, which means investing in more capital than what normally one would invest. So I was just trying to figure out from Anoop, do you think that should be a situation of a lender that, let them spend the money and look at the capital cost return at a later stage?
No, investing in service is what the operator has to do. Right? You build any hotel. As a customer, he's looking for service. He's looking for quality service, good food, good banquet service. Like we have eco happening here. It should not have happened, but it's happening here. So,
Audio, please note this observation.
so as a customer, he's looking for service. Right? When we go to any business hotel, and all of us go to business hotel, how much time we spend in the room? How much time we see what is there in the hotel? We are only looking for business, we are only looking for service. So as a business hotel, that service is important. But why we spend so much is what the owner has to introspect. Why he changes the design. I have seen many hoteliers who start with the ceramic tiles in their bathroom and end up doing satvario in their bathrooms. Right? And then they blame lender, sir, this cost has gone up, you give us more money. But that money is not going to get any returns for them. Like Mr. Yoganand said, that we will provide every money till the guest is satisfied year after year, year after year. And then I'm looking for a return after I paid back the lenders. But if you see his IRR, it will be 4%, 5%. But when there are so many other sectors, why should anybody spend money for a 4% IRR? And tomorrow, if he has to sell that hotel to make money, why he did all this hard work? To sell a hotel to recover his capital. So I think somewhere people have to understand that this is an industry and you have to look it as an industry. This is not a sector where you want your dreams to be built. You have to build a hotel as per the requirement of the city, as per the requirement of the market, and then the lenders are also happy. As a lender, our role is limited to providing funds, and we want return on our funds. As an investor, his role is he's building a hotel for a return on his equity. Right? As an operator is looking for a fee for running the hotel. So end of the day, we are all looking at economics. We are not looking at dreams. We are looking at reality. And that is what we have to look, and we have to work all together for that. We have honored Mr. Jose Dominic. He's built such small and good hotels. We also funded him once upon a time. And they were not set up at a huge cost. They were set up at a very moderate cost, but they gave return which is much, much better than many of the luxury hotels of this country. And that is what has to be done. That is what has to be done. Thank you.
See, taking a cue from what Anoop was saying, fortunately, and with fingers crossed and touch wood, the industry currently is doing phenomenally well. And based on our experience, we have lot many people who are wanting to set up more and more hotels at even Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5 locations, including promoters from Nepal going to all across places. Because the industry is on an upscale, and like any industry, it has an upscale and a downscale. Right now, everyone thinks that it will continue growing, but I'm sure, like most of us in this room, think that it may slightly get stagnant at some stage and may have a kind of a downward slide, like any cartwheel, like any other industry. So when new promoters approach you, Ajay, do you take into account that, obviously they're entering at a peak right now and they're thinking that they'll make more money, let's spend more money on the project to ensure to get more returns. But by the time they open, they may be on a downslide. So what do you advise them at that stage, and how do you tackle that situation?
It's a tricky one, Romesh. It is a tricky one. I think the key really is when you say you're getting in on the upcycle, the cost of land. And that's something that if somebody looking for the land, we always say be rational, be reasonable, be practical. But if somebody's in a hurry to build a hotel and you say, I want to build it in so-and-so place, then first of all, the land cost becomes a big hurdle in an efficient or in a viable hotel. Because land costs are going from 30, 40, 50% or more than that. You're spending 50% or more on land costs, your return is very, very, very long term. So that's one. I think the other thing, one thing we all fail in, or we largely fail in here, is that we don't ever freeze our decisions. First thing is, do you have enough money to fund the next 12 months, at least on a reasonable size project? Larger project, 18 to 24, do you have the money sitting in the bank? Not that you'll get it from somewhere, but do you really have that money available to start? If you don't, you should not start the project at all. Don't start digging. This is the first thing. Second thing is, like Anoop mentioned, you can be ambitious and you can do more things, but it's got to be connected to the reality of what's your return and which one of the things are bringing you a return. So I think if one's wise in those areas, you're okay. Just the fact that the economy is on an upswing and people are spending more on hotels and rates are good doesn't mean they're always going to stay. Neither the good nor the bad is permanent. It's all very transient. Any project has to have wisdom. Any project has to have very clear funding streams. And you can't be in a situation where you start a project and stop for whatever reason. Happens in half our projects. Something or the other goes wrong. And largely it's cash flows that go wrong. You don't have the cash flow, ruk gaya. So those things should never happen. If a 3-year project is taking you 6 or 7, you lost the plot anyways. So I think more our job as operators is to twofold. One is to educate to a point. Beyond a point, if you go to too much education, you'll never get the hotel. So be honest, but not too pessimistic. Be realistic. And the other thing is, if we build hotels, we have, as an operator, we are a very small ownership thing, but we've got 2 hotels operating, a third one coming up now. If we build hotels, can these be role models in every aspect? Are they making money or not? Was land bought at the right price or not? Was a project finished on time or not? Are the quality standards okay? And at the end of the day, after all your experience and expertise that's gone into it, is the project viable or not? That's something we need to showcase people. And can they be your role models? So our hotel in Chandigarh, for example, we're renovating now, is a role model for a hotel brand. Have a look. We're very proud to showcase it. What we're building in Chennai is our role model for the Portugal brand. And I have no doubt in my mind, Chennai is extremely profitable. Chandigarh is profitable. The hotel, Portugal in Chennai will be very profitable. We have no doubt at all. But land was bought at 5 crore, 2.5 acres. On a 120 crore project, you just can't go wrong when you do that.
Sudeep, I'll also pass on the same question to you, as because I think from this panel discussion, all we're saying, and we have an owner here, is that the owners themselves ought to be blamed for, to a certain extent, with an apology to the owner sitting on the panel, to mess their hotels, because they get into the project without actually getting the actual numbers done, or they get into the project with not the right consultants, or they get in with the wrong cost, or they change their concepts primarily when the project is midstream, either reappointing the consultants or revising the cost, or also based on the advice given by the operators. So Sudeep, how do you handle that situation?
So 2 things. One is, I think what Mr. Bakaya said is absolutely right. Over-education is usually a problem, right? And I think, again, let's simplify the world. There are sort of 3 kinds of developers, right? The veterans, like Mr. Yoganand, who's built multiple hotels, experience, doesn't need the education, knows what he wants, knows the funding, knows how it's going to work. All the problems we seem to be discussing today are usually with the first-time owner, right? And I think there is also a little bit of, I guess, what should I say, I shouldn't say a flaw, but we are making an assumption that everyone is building a hotel to make money. That's not always true, right? So fundamentally, the belief is not there. Now, someone may be building a hotel because they want to preserve wealth, right? They don't worry about the short term. It's about, how do I pass on my wealth to the next generation without taking undue risk? I'm not worried about the small, what happens in the next 2 years or what happens in the next 12 months and what happens in the next 5 years. Someone, and I'll give you a real life example, or I'll mention it, which is someone may be building the hotel because he or she wants to create the destination, right? Two prime examples of that is the Leela in Ambience Mall, right? And the second one is the Sheraton in Bangalore, right? Those were, if you did it on a piece of paper, right? Which all of us consultants, and I've been one, so I can say that, do, those projects would never pencil out, ever. They're wrong side of the street, wrong town, it doesn't make sense. Yet today, in hindsight, we say the most successful thing. And for the owner, they may not have made their biggest returns on the hotel, but they made it on the residential they sold. They made it on the commercial they leased out. They made it on the mall they leased out. So you cannot, it's not black and white that, hey, listen, if you don't get 14% return on these hotels, it's the worst decision you're making in your life. That's not the case, right? Second thing, I would challenge the notion, we believe, and maybe including myself, being a little arrogant, that we know the whole world, right? And we were absolutely right in what we say because we know the whole world, and we've got the crystal ball, which tells us what the future will look like. I have done feasibilities for AeroCity saying all projects will never work. How can you have 13 hotels in India, 3,500 rooms being added, which is 40% of the hotel supply in this market, being added in a destination no one knows? It's not going to make money, and you've got these lease payments to GMR and blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Today is the most successful investment, right? I would venture to guess if we go back and look at, especially in the growth economy, forget the COVID years, if we go back and look at actual delivery of hotel returns versus what we did in our feasibility models, whether it be bankers, whether it be owners, whether it be consultants, whether it be operators, we got it grossly, grossly wrong, right? So we have to take that into account that people may be building hotels for different reasons and we may not know the world. What Mr. Bakaya said, as long as you can sustain the cash flows in ups and downs for about 12 months of the hotel, you're in a very good spot. As long as you don't delay your projects, I can tell you wherever there are cost overruns, predominantly the line item which will have the biggest variance is interest cost because your project has been delayed. And the onerous expenses of 14% of interest, basically a 5 or 6 year delay, which is known to happen in India, will double your project cost without taking into account any price escalation, right? Third thing is the fact that another fact, people point the finger at the operator typically whenever I've been at panels. You have got the price escalated because you asked for Satvario. That's not the case. I don't think Mr. Bakaya would ever ask for Satvario in Sarovar. However, there will be people around the owner, some of us being consultants, some being friends and family, some of us being people who've got other hotels. Their hotel to ek baar zindagi mein banta hai. Right? क्यों बना रहे हो? Right लगा लो. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? 100,000 square feet, 500 रुपए, ज़्यादा तो है नहीं. But you have 20 such items. That's what happens, right? So I think it's very easy to point fingers and say, no, you got it wrong and you get it wrong and you don't do it right and we're too conservative and, it doesn't make money. Listen, Mr. Bali said, why would I build a hotel at 4 or 5% IRR? Let me tell you, hotels are being built in India left, right, and center. It is the second largest pipeline or signings of hotels in the world for the last 2 years behind one country, which is Saudi Arabia. right? And the returns, let's say on a piece of paper, are even negative. People are still building them. Don't tell me those people who have multiple crores are investing multiple crores are stupid. They're not. They made more money than a lot of us on the stage. That means they've got something right and they've got a secret sauce which makes them successful.
I think that's a very good insight. But I think, taking a cue from there, as Sudeep said, there are every owner is surrounded by either professionals and they make successful hotels. Sudeep mentioned about AeroCity. Fortunately, our company was involved in one of the projects out there, and I think the hotel rocks. I think one of the most successful hotels, both in terms of occupancy, ADRs, and Sudeep, that happens to be one of your hotel. And I think that's the Holiday in AeroCity. And I think the owner, I must confess, believed in one thing: let the decisions be taken by the consultants. I will only provide you the cash flow. Please don't mess up with my cash flow. And whatever you said, don't change the decisions. In fact, I must say, with no offense to the owners, the owner visited the hotel side in 28 months, just 11 times, out of which 3 times he visited because his flight got late. So he left the decision purely to the professionals under the team. But Rahool, I was just saying, when we talk about owners getting influenced by people who have no professional background, and they walk into these meetings and they sit with your technical team and start, rather dictating that this is what is to be done. We need Satvario instead of tiles. So how does Wyndham handle, how does the Wyndham technical team or the development team handle that situation?
Yeah. So again, there are 2 aspects to that. One is that, there's enough data in the market today, and everybody is very wise and they have a perspective. So when they come to us, and they have a particular kind of a problem or kind of or probably a solution to a thing, we also relate to data because it's not, there's no one answer to all the questions. It probably has to be different answers, and the problems are not the same. Also keeping in mind, what is actually driving that question is extremely important. Is it just because, there are friends and family who are kind of, motivating that question? Or is it, more of a financial race over there, which is kind of motivating that question? So, for us, it's we heavily rely on data. We are in modern times. 20 years back, probably people didn't have the same kind of answers what they have it now. And data is the best answer to give, when owners come to you for that.
Can I just add something? So, I'll give an analogy. Let's say I go to a restaurant and I order, I'm a vegetarian, but I'll take the example and I say in India, I'm going to order, not in India, let's say Nepal, I order Wagyu beef. And if the waiter or the serving staff tells me, sir, it costs 20,000 rupees, what do you think I'm going to tell him? What's in my money? My problem? Did I ask you how much it costs? Right? I may tell me, sir, it's 3 pounds or whatever, 16 ounces or 8 ounces. Fair enough. Or you may say, can you get it with this sauce, that sauce? As an operator, it's the same thing. We tell him, listen, we don't advise you to get, in that scenario, we don't advise you to get Satvario. This is not a luxury property. Tile is enough for us. However, the owner says, I want it. I'm not going to say, don't do it. It's your money at the end of the day, right? I may alert you that, hey, listen, this means that your returns may be a little lower. Sometimes with some owners, I carry in my briefcase, I carry 3x5 index cards, right, from my US days. And I write out there, get out of returns free card. It's written in my briefcase, it's there. I say, please keep this, sign it, I will put it in my safe. When you come to me and say, I'm not getting returns for my investment, I will show you my get out of returns free card. Because I did not recommend Satvario, but on the same token, who am I to say, don't do it, your money. I'm just putting in the same example. If we go to a coffee shop, or someone tells us, oh, it's very expensive, our immediate reaction could be, who the hell are you to tell me? It's no different, but at a larger scale.
Sure. I think I've been told I may need to wind up, but just one liner for which, I think maybe the audience would want to know. one trend which you think may redefine the changes in economic hospitality industry in the next 10 years?
Technology. Technology.
I think it's going to be people oriented. I can't go beyond that, but it's going to be people. We are in a spot where we just don't have enough people to run our businesses.
I think advanced construction technology.
It's the decisions to build and not to change in between. As AIM stands for architecture, interior designs, and management, you have to focus on all the three. And if you complete the projects without any cost overrun and time overrun, that is the best, and it is possible. And I feel there is going to be a lot of scope for cost consultants in this area. Because as Mr. Bakaya said, Mr. Anoop said, in between you're going to change the specifications. I may be interested to change the specifications, but someone should caution, if you're going to change the specification, there's going to be the cost escalation, which is going to affect your project. If I have money, I may go ahead, otherwise not to go ahead. So the cost consultancy in this field is very important. Every aspect they should know. Then you should choose the right consultants, and consultants also should feel responsible to service the obligations of the owner, though technically and legally they are not. And of course, the market is going to be good for next 10 years. People can venture into it, take a risk, and build right properties in right way. Thank you.
Rahool?
Yeah, I would just say that, what has got us till here is not going to change us. Take us to the next 10 years. And the best, and Sudeep has already answered that, it's going to be technology, it's going to be data, and some smart permutations and combinations.
Well, I think I may ask the last question for all the panel members, which is a repetition of what I said in the previous question, because there are so many owners here. One advice you would give, Rahool, and then maybe follow the mic. One advice you will give to a new owner, what he should do when he is planning to build a hotel. One advice.
Look at data. Look at the market where you are. Look at the data.
Mr. Yoganand?
As I said in the beginning, the people who make money elsewhere are trying to dump their money here. So when he's going to put his money, it is the responsibility of all the veterans and consultants to advise them properly.
Anoop?
I have two advices. If people who have extra money and want to dump it here, they're welcome. But that won't help the industry to grow. If the industry has to grow, it has to grow professionally. And if people have 80 rupees, then they should do a project of 50 rupees. And that's the best advice.
Ajay?
Keep 30 rupees safe.
I think for any owner, plan wisely. Put down the numbers on a drawing board. A lot of 8 or 10 projects done without the numbers being put or detailed. Put down the exact numbers. What's going to cost you to do your kitchens, your air conditioning, all your services, your fit outs, etc. It can't be like half the people who contract for you say to you, "Ho jayega." It can't be a ho jayega scenario. It's got to be put on paper, examined by experts, checked 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times before you start a project.
Sudeep?
I think I agree with Mr. Bakaya. It's listen to the experts if you're a first-time hotel owner, right? Don't assume too much and don't listen to everything which you hear.
I have a small request to the industry is look at creating good manpower, committed manpower, and create confidence in them that they have growth is there, but provided they do their job properly and motivate them to do a right job. That is very essential for this industry.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, we'll just put the floor for the questions. But I just want to conclude thanking everyone for listening to us patiently. So the mics for questions, please. Yeah, I can see Mr. Ratan Keswani, as usual.
You want the mic?
As usual, sir. We expect these questions from you because, if you don't ask questions, then we feel that, we haven't done our job.
So what I have is a question and a comment. Everybody in every conference talks about the implications of AI, what are we doing about it, what is machine learning. So here's to the owners, the brands, and all the architects and designers sitting here. People are building factories and creating 3D models, 4D models. Nobody seems to create those models for hotels. Our PERT charts are absolutely obsolete to say the least. We don't have the relevant quantity surveyors anymore. Nope. Can somebody sit down sensibly? We've got enough data that AI can, pick up from, and actually put in the implication of design, and then by the singular item that you change, either out of ego or logic or consultants, immediately should be able to give you the change that will come through. It shouldn't be so difficult. And all this will immediately get answered, but we go around AI and the implication and all that stuff in the grandiose manner. Why don't we just look at it for this subject? It'll keep the egos out, and then you can define that if you want my brand of this value, these are the sample sets. You can't just give numbers to say it should be 5 crores room. Based on what? Based on something that you did day before yesterday. But does it have the price value for the customer? Leave the owner aside for a moment. At the end of the day, our business is about the customer. Does that bring that value for you to demand 5 crores a room? It really doesn't.
No, I think that's a very valid point.
So I think that's the circle we need to solve. The rest of it becomes fluff. Because the same discussion, I can say, in the last 4 decades we've had. But there is a model available where you can track the change and put the implications together, which can happen very quickly, a tool that we did not have. Why don't we, invest in that tool? Everybody together, and a great company and great kids can bring this together for us.
Perfect. Anil, it gives us a kind of a thought. No, I mean, you can answer that. You can answer it on the side because,
Just to answer Ratan, it is all possible, but nobody likes to pay the consultant to create that package which will give you all the results. So we don't even get paid for.
We'll discuss that offline. Any other question, please? Yeah, I think you can see a mic there. Can you please pass on the mic there? At the back.
Namaste to all. Yes, I'm practicing project management. Rather, I surrogate your conceived project and deliver it. So I find a lot of challenges in between. So if I have to say something to the owners, just say that you conceive right and select right consultant, experienced consultants with reference. If you select something wrong in between, then project might go wrong.
So as I said, we normally start planning for our next year event. So I think maybe the theme for the next year, Hi, Manil, should be pick up the right consultants.
Right.
I think with that note, I think I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
I've been pressed half for time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to our moderator and to our panelists. Can I please invite Mr. Anil Kumar Sharma to join us onto the stage? Mr. Sharma, to kindly present these token of appreciation to our fantastic panelists who shared their insights, who shared their experiences, and also put their advices forward at the end of the panel discussion as well. We have this beautiful handicraft wooden frame as a token of appreciation to all our panelists. Our deepest gratitude to Mr. Sudeep Jain, Mr. Rahool Macarius, Mr. Gajjala Yoganand, Mr. Anoop Bali, Mr. Ajay Bakaya. We have these beautiful wooden frames and have managed to also capture the group photograph and print it on time.
Ratan, you will have to be up for the question. I mean, there is a small token of appreciation for the question.
So thank you very much to our panelists, to our moderator as well. And this is a 60-minute Himalayan massage, the coupon for that. So I think this is an encouragement to guests in the audience as well to put their hands up and be the first one to ask questions in the next panel discussions as well. We'd like to take a group photograph, so requesting our distinguished panelists and to our moderator to kindly step forward for a group photograph. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the very first session here at Jaguar Presents the High Aim Conference and Exposition 2025 in association with Marriott International, the theme being Economics of Hospitality Design. And we concluded the very first panel discussion on long-term value versus short-term gains, balancing capital costs with long-term operational savings.